Today, we're going to be talking about a subject that I think is pretty um, big for us. Something, even if you don't talk about it every day, it looms large on the horizon. And that is, um, it looks like we are in trouble. And we can be defining we in a lot of different ways. We can define we as we people here in the United States. We can define we as people who are um, concerned about world politics. We can define we as humanity on our planet. We can define we as literally life on Earth. Okay, so all of this is apparently being threatened. And the threats are large. We've never faced a world like this. Humanity has never been um, at this kind of a crossroads. Um, however you look at it, it looks like we're in trouble um, in terms of the downright weirdness of what we call political leadership now, rushing in one direction while the other direction remains amazingly silent. Um, Wars and rumors of wars, as the quote goes, that seem to be intractable. Um, and even the wars that President Trump has negotiated peace for just continue shooting and with no end in sight. We're looking at the most vulnerable and the most tenuous and the highest level of um, what gets called wealth on our planet, but isn't really wealth. It's um, adding a lot of ones and zeros that can literally disappear overnight. And if you think that I am joking, um, let there be um, an X-class uh, solar flare with a CME attached to it and find out how long it takes for all of our technology to revert to the Stone Age. Um, and by Stone Age, I'm not exaggerating. And I am really not exaggerating. Um, Everything that we've got, all the technologies that we've got, we human beings know how to do lots of things, including how to smelt iron, how to make bronze, how to do. I mean, we've gone through um, the Stone Age, the Iron Age, the Bronze Age. We've gone through all this stuff and we've forgotten how to do all of it because of electricity. It does everything so much better until it stops. And when I've said that to a number of people, that the response comes back, it can't stop. Now, that's not true. Anything that's human made can be human unmade. What they mean by that is we can't run our society if the electricity stops. And that's the truth. So, um, so what we'll have to do is run another society. And we should be thinking about that right now, as opposed to um, ignoring it and hoping that it just gets better magically and on its own. Um, our challenges are I was going to say also in terms of wealth, it looks like Elon Musk is getting one of his Christmas wishes where he gets called the world's first trillionaire. Um, For someone who has no goals, that's a really important goal. Um, and um, and right after that, after he has a party about that, he'll start aiming on being the world's first quadrillionaire because it's an empty goal. It's a word. It doesn't mean anything. Um, we know that we are in the midst of a massive civilizational transformation. We, I think that there'll be few who will argue otherwise. Most people think that that's going to be a massive civilizational transformation and it's down the hills, down the tubes for the human beings and maybe all the other species too. And they write about it, they lament about it, they cry about it, they try to tweak this system or tweak that system, but systems tweaks don't get you anything. Some are planning for a massive civilizational transformation, and they want that transformation to be a continuation of the status quo indefinitely. The rich get richer, the powerful get more powerful. Um, the wars are always happening on somebody else's soil. Things are fine. The newspapers are running and saying all the things we wanted to say, etc. And they want that to go on forever, and that won't. Um, and a handful of us um, a small handful of people on this call right now, um, a larger handful of people who are on other calls in other places on other forums around the world who are saying we don't have to do human civilization like this. We have other things we can be doing. We have other values that we hold, and we can put those values forward. Um, some of them are are thinking that um, uh, there's the hope of hopelessness. There's nothing else we can do, so let's make a new civilization. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. Um, but it's another way of looking at this, and that is all the things that you're seeing right now, all of the dislocations that you see right now are an integral part of the process of actually birthing a new civilization on this planet. Um, the things that you see that are going on, the wars that seem to not have any solution to them except add more military power on both sides and do more fighting on both sides. And it continues on both sides. But I am inviting us to look at this a different way. I'm inviting us to look at this as labor pains. That when something is being born, if something real is being born, um, there's always, and I think I'm not exaggerating, I'm thinking it through all sorts of biological um, connections. There's always labor pains involved. There's always a process that the intensity of life needs the intensity of this transformational act in order for it to succeed. Um, I'm thinking about with seeds that where the seed cracks open and that literally bursts into life. I'm thinking about other cells that other beings, single-celled organisms that stop eating, stop acting, and then literally divide themselves in half and pull away from each other. And now you got two. And I'm thinking about the process, our human process of human birth, and getting to a point where um, a person pushes another whole person out of their bodies, and the intensity of that process. I was there with the birth of my first daughter, and I can I can tell you that there is no process have ever experienced that is as intense as that. The interesting thing, and I've said this a lot of times, and I've never gotten any pushback from a mother, we know that this is a divine process because there is no human being controlling it. There's all these human beings involved, but if that mother could stop the process, even for a couple of days, like, let me get a breather here. If they could stop the process, they would. Okay. If my wife, my ex-wife, could have stopped the the um the birthing process for just give me a couple of weeks. Actually, consider it, give me a couple of months. I'll come back at this. Um, she would and they would, but you don't. You lean into the process. You control your breathing when you know what the results are. You do everything that you can prepare to ease your way into the process when you know what the results are. However, in our situation now of civilizational birth, we are birthing a new civilization. Many of us, I would say even most of us, don't even know we're pregnant. Most of us are just looking at what's going on, saying, "This is terrible. This is terrible. My civilizational water broke. The civilizational pains are coming faster and they're sharper. Um, what are we going? It's all over." As I wrote in "Birthing the Nation of Gaia," that um, if you don't know that a woman is having a baby, you think she's dying. The process is almost indistinguishable from a death process. It's that way for a reason. It's that way because we need to have faith. And the faith we need to have is this is really going to come out okay on the end. If the faith that I'm having if the faith I'm having is faith that the existing system is going to continue on, my faith is misplaced. If I'm having faith that the best is about to happen, then I can. I'm speaking as someone who's never had a labor pain. Then I can lean into the process. I can I can welcome the process knowing that at the end of it, I get a baby and they wrap it up in a blanket and I get to take it home and feed it for about 18 years. Um, and so, so our challenge is, uh, are we understanding what the labor pains look like? Okay. Um, do we understand that Donald Trump is an absolutely necessary labor pain? Now, we want to protest him because he doesn't represent our values. We want to stop the destruction of all of the institutions that he's busily destroying. I mean, like it's almost like he never sleeps. It's like every day I check out the news and there's something else he's pulling apart. That is his job. Now, in again, using the civilizational birthing analogy, you look at all the things that hold us together, okay, that hold our society together. um, we look at that and think that those institutions are eternal. Yeah, the U.S. Supreme Court is eternal. Our money system is eternal. And the reason we think of these things as being eternal is that we lean on these for how we do our work, how we live our lives. And the Trump pathogen, and that's exactly what it is. It's a pathogen that is integral to the transformation of society. Is the Trump pathogen is saying, don't lean on this stuff. Okay. There should be caution tapes put around, well, the whole country, maybe the whole world. We wrap it up in a big yellow caution tape because other stuff is about to be born, and that other stuff is going to make a lot more sense than what we got right now. We know in our um, in our process of changing a caterpillar to a butterfly, we know that part of that process, once the caterpillar enters the chrysalis, and if you ever wondered what the inside of a chrysalis looks like, this is it. This is what the inside looks like. And the pathogen inside that chrysalis turns all of the caterpillar cells, every single one of them, turns into goo. It no longer not one of its cells looks like a caterpillar anymore. All of the cells look like orange goo. I know it's orange because when I was a kid, I accidentally rode my bicycle over a chrysalis and it popped open. Ew, I had to wash this junk off my tires. And I the cells that are called we call the Supreme Court have to be turned into goo. The cells that we call the money system, if we're relying on it, it has to turn into goo. The cells that we call um, uh, the Environmental Protection Agency has to be turned into goo. And from that goo, the imaginal cells, and that's us. That's you, me, all the other people on this call, and the other people, the other, let's say, million or a couple million or so around the world are hold the seeds of the new society. But you can't exercise those seeds. You can't live those seeds as long as we are focusing away from our role. And our role is to be the magnetic force that pulls together the goo into a butterfly. Now, how that happens, it's one of the real mysteries of our lives, of how you exert this energy and make this thing happen and invite this thing to happen. Um, what we have to do. So I can't do classes on how to make a butterfly. Okay. Um, I could, but it'd be an interesting class of I don't know this and I don't know that and I don't know these parts over here, but it would just hang in there. So our challenge is um, for us to get ready to do our part when the fecal matter hits all of the propellers, and we got a lot of propellers here. Now, some of that fecal matter that hits the propellers is called compost, and we need that to birth this new society. Um, and some parts of it is just more goo that we need to turn into more butterflies or more legs, or actually a whole lot less legs, less digestive tracts, etc. Um, so for us to be an integral part of the miracle of what is about to happen,